All right, welcome all. We are just opening things up. We'll give it a couple minutes so everyone can join. Thank you for being here and right on time. We're expecting a big audience today, so thank you for hopping on. Thank you all for joining. Just waiting for a couple more to hop in to the Zoom, and then we'll get started. Good morning, Sean. Thanks for being here. See a lot of familiar names. Thank you all for joining today's community hour. All right, I know others will continue to join as we just opened up the Zoom, but I will kick things off to help us get started. My name is Ann Sari. I am the Executive Director of the Elevate Technology User Group. And if you're not familiar with Elevate, we are an independent organization. We're a customer-led user group for Dell Technologies customers who are on the multi-cloud journey to modernizing your infrastructure. So today we have a little bit of a different program. Today we're hosting a refreshed format of our community hour series called Dell Tech Presents. This is to cover updates for members post VMware by Broadcom close. We're very thankful to have Nancy Hurley and Ash McCarty here from Dell Technologies and Adam Little with our board of directors to share his perspective. I think it's really important to share before we get started that our experts here today, they're not going to have every answer to every question, but our goal with today's webcast is really to create a space where information can be available and shared, questions can be asked, and feedback, most importantly, can be passed along to really share that voice of the user group community. Since we know there's a lot of participants today, please use the chat for any questions, or I'm sorry, the Q&A for any questions. The chat feel free to use, but if you have specific questions, please use the Q&A so that we can track and respond accordingly. So I will pass it over to Nancy Hurley. She's the director with product marketing with Dell Technologies. Nancy's going to moderate today's discussion, so I will pass it over to her to get started. So thank you, Nancy. Oh, and you are muted, so let's get you off mute here.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's probably better, right? If people can actually hear me. So, okay, thank you, Ann. Appreciate the introduction. As Ann mentioned, I am the director of product marketing for our HCI and Apex Cloud Platform portfolio. So I work very closely with both Ash McCarty here, who is the director of product management, as well as Adam, who I think you all hopefully all know as one of our key customers. So thanks both for joining me. So today we obviously want to talk about what we, as Ann mentioned, what we can talk about as it relates to the Dell and Broadcom relationship post acquisition. So it's been about 100 days and a lot has happened. And we know everyone has a number of questions, particularly about that relationship. And I think many of the members of the Elevate user group are VxRail users and have a number of questions about that, and we'll definitely address those today. So we'll talk about what we know, and we promise to share more details as they become available. And I think it's important to note that while 100 days may seem like a really long time, as they say, elephants don't jump. And so there's many aspects of our mutual go-to-market strategies that are still under discussion. But like I said, what we got to focus on is what we know for sure right now. So with Adam and Ash, both of you regularly talk with VMware users. Ash, I know you're talking with our customers on almost a daily basis, as well as with Broadcom all the time. So I think you folks are the best to, help guide the Elevate users in, and answer their questions about what might be happening. So Adam, let's start with you. What have you been hearing from your coworkers and peers?
Yeah, thanks for that intro, Nancy. I appreciate it. I think it's important to highlight that I think we're hearing a lot of different things, right? To your point, right, of 100 days seems like a long time, but there's still a lot of things that are being figured out, and there's still a lot of things that are in flux. So I think a lot of customers are really looking for just some guidance on where they go and trying to make the right decisions for their business. And I think this is a great time where we would love to have every perfect answer to present today. I don't think that's realistic. It's still ongoing, right? And still unfolding. So the best thing I think a lot of our members can do is to lean on other members and really experience what are they going through, right? And understand, are they doing things that you could be doing to prepare for this? Are they having good dialogues with VMware and now Broadcom, right? To talk about what their renewals are looking like. So I think that it's important to have those dialogues. There's a lot of, we'll say, misinformation out there and a lot of people that are having, not the best experience, right? And that's just natural when you put together two gigantic orgs, that there's going to be a realignment and people that, get moved around in that process. So I know it's hard, but try to be patient, right? And try to keep what's best for your business in mind, I think is the best advice I can give everyone.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, right? And I think it echoes a lot of the conversations that I know Ash has been having with customers. So, Ash, you're on calls pretty much daily. What's the general sentiment? What are you hearing from customers?
Thanks, Nancy. It's really great to be here first, and I want to get this out of the way. I want to thank all of our customers and partners who are taking the time out of the day to join us, because I know this is a very important topic. Kind of where I want to start is to level set and say, the most important thing we want you to know leaving this conversation today is that we're listening. And to echo what Nancy said, is I'm not going to be able to promise you that I'll have all the answers today. I'm not going to be able to share everything you probably want to know right now, but what I can promise you is that we are working on opening up lines of communication and doing a better job communicating. And I'll promise that we will be committed to doing that moving forward. To Nancy's point, I have spent the last 2 to 3 months talking to nearly 100 of you, 100 of our customers and partners, and it's pretty much been from the smallest to the largest. And a pretty consistent theme has been uncertainty. Customers are uncertain about the future, and that's whether it's the relationship with Broadcom, it's their partnership, the partnership with Dell and Broadcom, or just really the future of VxRail. And what I've heard is, when they're faced with this uncertainty, what they're looking for is stability, and stability with their existing infrastructure that they purchased. They want consistency like they've had in the past with Dell and VMware. And really, most importantly, is they want confidence in the path forward. And at the end of the day, what I hear most frequently is that customers are just looking for answers because they want to make the most informed decisions for their business. Now, I've had the privilege of having many discussions with many of our customers. So I like to use this opportunity, and I do this with all of our customers, is to share some of the insights that I've gained through those conversations so that I can help you with the path forward. I think the key thing that I hear is that every scenario I come across is slightly different. But so far, I haven't talked to a customer who's really had the best or the easiest answer. The majority of the customers that I talk to are being very pragmatic about their approach forward. And it's been very clear that regardless of the outcome, they expect VMware will be a big part of their ecosystem for many years to come. And if you think about some of the variables that I hear often thrown around that are at play when you're talking about shifting between ecosystems, things like increased cost or dependencies or application compatibilities, or just there's been several situations that they've been concerned about, avoiding future lock-in. It's really a monumental exercise. And when I talk to customers, I also understand that many of you are working with different timelines, but I want to stress this. Be wary of making knee-jerk reactions that adversely put your business at risk. Many of my conversations with customers are who did their due diligence, who spent time identifying all the risks, who ran their POCs, and have later run into significant unexpected headwinds, and I don't want you to run into those same headaches.
So Ash, again, I think that's great. I mean, I know we're trying to really take that customer first approach here, but I want to kind of circle back to what you said, where customers are looking for stability and consistency and confidence, right? Because when they have that, I think that will help avoid the knee-jerk reaction. So let's talk about that, like as it relates to our VxRail customers, or just, you know, how do you address the confidence concern in the future with the customers you talk to?
Yeah, so let me get this out of the way right now. VxRail will continue to be a strategic part of Dell's portfolio, and both Dell and Broadcom are continuing to partnership and invest in VxRail. And we've recently showcased this with a co-authored blog that's been posted on both Dell and Broadcom sites. And really the gist of it, it reinforces the strength of the future partnership, and it really talks through the importance of VxRail as an HCI solution between the two companies moving forward. And our teams can share the link with you in the chat as we speak, if you haven't seen that blog. Really what we've been talking about over the last few months is we've been having weekly, and truthfully, many cases, multi-times a day, tactical and strategic meetings across all levels of leaderships in both companies. And the ultimate goal of these meetings are really to ensure that we minimize any disruptions to our joint customers, but also it's been a forum for us to share feedback that we're hearing. And I really can't stress this enough, how important this feedback is, and it really is shaping decisions we're making. So I encourage all of you to share this feedback, and it's really the true value of these user groups. I think the last thing I'll say is that kind of the most common question I get when you're talking about lack of confidence in the future, it's wanting better understanding of the VMware licensing and how it impacts their products. You know, and a lot of the questions obviously have been specifically around VxRail. So I think I'll address it this way. First, let's start by talking about level set kind of what changed. And if you look at what Broadcom has done with consolidating their portfolio, they did this to two primary offers for VMware Cloud Foundation and also vSphere Foundation. And so these new offers are bundles of individual software titles, and they're now available as term subscription. Where we're going with the Dell portfolio and VxRail in the near future will enable these subscription offers and have these available through Dell. Additionally, I know many of you are using perpetual licensing today, and VMware did announce the end of sale of perpetual licensing in January. And since that date, VMware effectively no longer offers perpetual licensing for sale. So one area of confidence that we've been instilling in customers is there are some unique exceptions to this with VxRail. And my team that's on right now can provide you some answers to your specific questions if you have them, if you want to post them in Q&A. And so please take this opportunity to do so.
Yep, absolutely. Adam, any thoughts from your side on?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's really good to hear, right? And I imagine a lot of our user group, I mean, myself included, right? So New Belgium is heavily invested in VxRail. We basically standardize our infrastructure on that. So it's great for us to hear that, to kind of put our leadership at ease too, right? That there is great communications there, good teamwork between the two orgs, and that's a big part of Dell's portfolio going forward. I think for a lot of the user group, right, that's just, they either are already on a platform like VxRail or they're considering it. So it's good to know that there is that alignment there. And then I also would just, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, from a customer perspective, it's obvious that this is a big portion of both Dell and VMware Broadcom's business now. So I think both companies have a pretty vested interest to make sure that that is working well. So I know that also puts my mind at ease, right? That there's going to be development and future into that platform.
Yeah, so there is a question, just Ash, I think somebody was like, hey, is this correct that there's gonna be subscriptions available from Dell? And I don't know if you wanna, I know we don't have exact dates yet, but you want to address that real quick?
No exact dates to share. I would say Broadcom is working with all their partners and OEMs to enable the same subscriptions they have offered direct to them today to enable it through their partner and OEM ecosystem. So we're actively working with Broadcom there, and while I can't tell the exact timing, I would say in the very near term we're looking to enable that across the Dell portfolio, right? So very similar to what we had in the past. I would expect, where we had it in the PowerEdge portfolio across our Ready nodes, across VxRail, we're going to have those capabilities as well.
Okay, great. There's a lot of questions coming in as it relates to licensing. So I know that the team's on the panel and they're going to be answering what they can, and then I'll go through them and see if there's some that we want to make sure that we address live. But I think, one of the things that we say this, we can say like, hey, yeah, absolutely, we're working together, and of course we're moving forward. But I think a lot of people don't know the extent of the business relationship, or the customer footprint that we have out there that makes it so imperative that we are working very closely together. So Ash, like, any do you want to share anything about that? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about this morning, how I would address this question, because I talk about this with customers too. So I think before I jump into the data, because we have a lot of good data, I think let's begin with why VxRail is so important to both companies. And it really is truly the trust and the relationship we have with our customers. So VxRail has been market for 8 years. So if you look over the past 8 years, the VxRail business really has been shaped by our commitment to actively listening to customers. And we've cultivated, a tremendous amount of relationships, and we've done that successfully through being open and transparent. And what this has enabled us to do is, not only have we been able to deliver a successful product, but we've really truly built a community around VxRail. And Adam knows this. He can reach out to me at any moment, and he's not alone. I think many of our customers have me on speed dial. So we're just a call away. And we have many of these forums, just like this user group and the advisory councils, that we talk to our customers all the time. So our partnership truly goes beyond just the technology, and we're deeply committed to upholding our trust with customers. And I think we understand the weight of that responsibility, and we know, that trust, once it's broken, is difficult to restore. But I think, I guess, pivoting back to your original question about, metrics, I'd say the best public facing metric to consider about, especially when you're facing a lot of uncertainty and noise, is to look at just our expansive install base. There's a couple of things there that we talk about all the time, which is, if you look at the IDC data, Dell has consistently led that market for around 22 consecutive quarters, actually. And one of the primary drivers is VxRail. Also, if you look at our install base, our global footprint is vast. It's by my last numbers, it was over 300,000 nodes, and that's spread across 20,000 customers. And then, moreover, if you look at like just vSAN deployments in general, approximately 70% of the vSAN deployments are running on Dell hardware. So if you step back a little bit and see why both Dell and Broadcom would be invested in this, and despite what competitors might suggest, VxRail is far from going away, and it's extremely important for both companies and our customers, right?
Yeah, I was going to add to that, Ash, so that I feel like it's only natural, right? I hear everyone's concerns that this is not, for us as well, right? It has not gone. We would hopefully like it to go better, right? But it's just natural when you're putting together two really big organizations like this that there's going to be some noise, some issues there. What you can really do is, right, lean in partners, right? So Dell's always done great by us. We're looking to them for guidance here, and I think that's the best move for my business right now. And so I just would encourage members, right? I think I highlighted this earlier, but you should absolutely do what's best for your business. Look at all your options that are out there, but also at the same time, make sure that you're keeping in mind where you're going, right? Where your business is growing, and trying to make sure that you're making the best decisions for your business. You're not just taking this. There's going to be short-term heartache here, right? As we work through this, and we will get through that, right? It will get better. So just keep that in mind, right? And don't make too many harsh decisions on where you want to go.
Thank you. I think that's also great advice, Adam. I mean, that's really what we're, really trying to focus on, even the guidance to our sellers when, customers, maybe seeking strategic advice. It's like, look, this is all your choice on your timeline. And I think that's the really important thing is, for folks, if they're trying to think about like, okay, what do I do and what is my timeline, is to really understand what changes where will there be. So Ash, before we address a lot of the licensing questions that are coming in, can you talk a little bit like current state of rail and roadmap and all of that, again, kind of bringing back to giving people that confidence in the continuity that they're gonna get.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd summarize it this way: is looking at this plain and simply, it is business as usual with VxRail. There's no impact to selling VxRail to customers. There's no impact on how we're supporting VxRail, and we continue our jointly engineered HCI offer with VMware. If you look at what we're doing this year into the next, we're going to continue to invest and innovate with the VxRail HCI system software, and we're going to be able to continue providing that turnkey experience because we're driving more automation in the product. We have a host of new features coming, and when we step back and say, hey, look at how our customers are using VxRail today, we're going to ensure those existing features are more consistent, hardened, reliable, and that they're functioning the way they should. And beyond that, just looking at what VMware is doing, they're always innovating on their roadmap. So we're going to continue to integrate their latest features and functionality into whether it's in VCF or vSphere, vSAN. And the goal there is to continue that integration to optimize and enhance the customer experience with Rail.
Okay. Great. And anything on any kind of roadmap, like nothing NDA, but
yeah. So it's when if you're talking like looking into the future, like what we're doing this year, and so funny enough, we've actually had to add a lot of additional items to our 2024 roadmaps recently, as Broadcom has added and accelerated a lot of items on their roadmap. So there's a lot of new things coming that are going to supplement what we already had planned. I think if you want to look into the out years, Dell is making some big bets, some significant investments with VxRail. Whether it's next generation platforms or AI, and those are things we're going to want to deliver this year and 2025 and beyond. However, obviously this is a non-NDA conversation, so I definitely encourage you to reach out, and we're happy to have a much deeper, in-depth roadmap review. That's what my team does. So we're happy to go share you with everything we're building this year and where we're collaborating with VMware and kind of where we're going over the next several years that we're making investments today.
yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned AI, it just reminding me we're going to be like doing some sessions at Dell Technologies World, which I hope a lot of people are going to attend in May. And it's kind of like the hidden gems of running AI on VxRail. I mean, particularly with the 16G, Intel chips with the AI accelerator on it, right? There's just there's so much more that can be done, in modernizing your data center with Rail. So we're pretty excited about the future with it for sure.
Yeah, Nancy, I was going to add to that. We almost always do with the user group a recap after DTW, right? So that might be a good time that hopefully we'll know a little bit more about this topic and all of the exciting announcements we have at Dell Tech World. So, obviously everyone that's here, right, just tune in for that, and that's up and coming. And as we already laid out, right, as we find out more information that we can bring down to the user group, we will bring that down.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, Ash, I do want to come up. A lot of the questions were already answered, but when we talk about the subscriptions, right, there's a lot of questions about, okay, different clusters, right? Because you have to have a cluster with subscription licensing and a cluster with perpetual licensing. So people are just trying to understand, like, how are they going to manage this and deploy all those new nodes and the like. So any advice that you can give to folks on that?
Yeah. So one of the limitations at this time, I want to say a limitation at this time, because it's an area we're actively working with our peers at Broadcom, is that you cannot mix perpetual, at a vSAN cluster level, you cannot mix vSAN clusters with perpetual and subscription licensing. So if you have an existing cluster with perpetual licensing and you want to add subscription, there are some things that can be done, but generally for most customers, it's going to be building out a new cluster. Broadcom is definitely aware of this limitation. We've been providing feedback from customers on how we can navigate. So I know they have several things in flight, not only just looking at addressing the limitation, but also how they can work with customers to provide that scale out capability for their existing clusters. So I'd say more information to come, but definitely is a good understanding, making sure customers, being very transparent with customers and making sure they understand those limitations as they go to implement subscription in their environments, alongside their existing investments.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to think about, and that's where, again, like, let's not do the knee-jerk reaction, right? And so another quick thing here, it's come up a couple times about the PAC portal in the questions, and it's also statements here that there are some folks out there saying that perpetual vSAN licenses are no longer available on VxRail. Do you want to just address that rumor that's flying?
Yeah, that's to be honest with you, is one of those areas of where we need to get better at with communication, right? So I think there's opportunities here to distill this now. That's not true. There has been some areas we've been collaborating with on. We're aware of the issue with the ability to redeem licenses. Broadcom's aware of the ability, and we're working together to address that. So there's no, if you've already purchased your system and you have the licenses you're looking to redeem, or you're doing an upgrade, we're working to resolve that. I don't have a date, but it's top priority between both companies, and we should have that resolved very soon.
All right, great. So one other thing, just I don't want to ignore the fact that, like we said, some people are having knee-jerk reactions to this. I know we hear in the market that people are, oh, they're gonna move. When a customer approaches you about what options might they have, how do you respond to them?
Yeah, it's a very common question, actually. And so because customers are uncertain about the future, so naturally they want to protect their business, and they're going to obviously want to look at what's out there and say, hey, what are the alternatives? What can I look at? So this is how I approach it with customers. I think it's really important to understand your timelines, your environment, complexity of your environment, and really your end objective. And because basically there's really not a one size fits all answer. I also talk to customers and let them know, and I'll say this to you as well, as we want you to know that we're here for you, and our goal is to meet you wherever you are in your journey. And that means really helping you consider your options on the timeline that's right for you. We've been, again, talking to lots of customers, so we really truly understand the dynamics at play. And at Dell, we have the partnerships, we have the breadth of portfolio, we have the services really to help you navigate that successful path forward. So I'll say, usually when I talk to customers, if you're continuing within the VMware ecosystem or need business continuity, we're continuing to invest in VxRail. We're going to continue to provide, VxRail is going to continue to provide the best outcome because of all the tight integration we have with VMware. And I also I tell customers, don't sleep on the VxRail dynamic nodes either.
Yeah.
But also, however, many of them are looking for help, and they're saying, if you're looking at alternatives, Dell's strategy really has been consistent, and we partner with multiple ecosystem vendors, and we continue to strengthen those partnerships, and we can provide you choice. And I'll end my statement with this is basically to every customer and partner listening. As I mentioned, like I think earlier, we talked about how every scenario is different, and I really want to make it real. So reach out to your account team, have them connect with us, and we can gather up the right folks to have those conversations and about your needs and your requirements. Because I said, a lot of customers are uncertain about the future. A lot of customers, it's a very tricky situation to navigate, and I'm committing to being here for you, and Dell is committing to support you.
Yeah, I think that's great to hear, Ash. From a customer perspective too, right? I would just add that it's perfectly natural, right, to explore your options and understand what else is out there. But also, if you're anything like me, I've been working with VMware for over a decade now, right? So that's where my team and the folks I work with are comfortable with. So that's not to say that we're not also evaluating everything that's out there, right? That's to Ash's point, I think it's a different answer for every business, but try to not get locked into a situation where, you're being told you have to do X or you're deciding that you have to do Y, because take the time to decide, right? Again, this is going to be some short-term bumps in the road, but I am confident this will get worked out long-term, and that we will settle into something that works for most customers. Now, I can't answer that for every business, right? And there's definitely been different things you hear, given the size of your business, the size of your spend with VMware, what tools you're leveraging. So take all of that into account, right? That's only you know what's best for your business. So just keep that in mind. And again, lean on partners that you can trust, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for that. And to your point, Ash, we've always worked with other ecosystem partners, right? I mean, if you will see Dell everywhere, and Microsoft and Red Hat and IBM and everywhere else. I mean, a broad ecosystem is our business model. There's no question about that. But I think, obviously, we had a special relationship with VMware that made it a little bit different, but that continues. So I think, can you speak a little bit more to, the level of partnership, like the joint engineering and everything, and how that is going to continue moving forward?
Yeah, I'm thank you for asking that, because I was going to bring that up, and so that was one of the things that comes up the most. And let me be very specific when I talk about this. I'll go into a little bit of detail here, because when we talk about the co-engineering relationship with VMware and Broadcom, this has really been an area of concern from a lot of customers. So I want to be clear what it means moving forward to both companies. To start with, if you just want to look at how our teams interlock, right? So our teams are constantly meeting on a regular basis, and we're discussing things like product roadmaps. We're doing like technology and business reviews, we're reviewing product quality, support metrics, KPIs, and just dozens and dozens of other areas of collaboration. When my team meets with my peers on the product management side at Broadcom, we're continuing to collaborate on areas of joint innovation. But we're also incorporating your feedback into the products. And I'll be honest, most of what you see on our roadmaps are ideas that you have come up with, right? So that is continuing. Importantly, our engineering teams, they're going to continue to jointly develop and validate VxRail. So what this means is Dell gets early access to code, and Broadcom validates, with their significant footprint of VxRail systems. And what that means to you as a customer is highest product quality, because we're finding things early in the product and solving them before they make its way to you. There's also no change to the support process. I know that's been a concern as well. Dell is going to continue to take the first call. In the very rare cases that we have to escalate to VMware, we do have business-to-business system integrations. And really the goal of those system integrations are to facilitate kind of a seamless support experience. So you don't feel like you're being passed around from one to the other. And at the end of the day, it really drives a faster time to resolution. And the last area that I'll really talk about is VCF on VxRail, right? So many of you are VCF on VxRail customers, and we're committed to continuing full integration with VCF and SDEC Manager. So really, there's no disruption at all to any of these things or any of our other co-engineering activities. And the way we are keeping ourselves and holding ourselves accountable is we're going to be having, we already did, but we're going to continue ongoing executive interlocks, right? So reviewing KPIs, reviewing how the partnership's continuing, and the goal is to really truly no change to any of the partnership moving forward specific to the co-engineering relationship.
Yeah, interesting. Somebody just brought up, so you mentioned VCF on VxRail, and someone just asked about Project Flywheel, and if that's going to continue to exist. And I think everybody knows that that was really about improving the upgrade experience on, for VCF and VCF on VxRail and just the overall user experience. And I almost feel like, I think that we got to a place where that's just in a maintenance or sustaining kind of
Yeah,
mode. Can you talk to that?
Absolutely. So it's funny, I actually meet bi-weekly with the leadership at VMware, and we've been doing this since, well, we always did this, but we've been doing this specifically focused on VCF on VxRail. And we have a dashboard where we go through and track the progress of the upgrades, how long they're taking, what the backlog looks like, and constantly evaluating resources, shifting resources around it to kind of bring that backlog down, and then make sure the upgrades are not only more successful, but they're happening in a faster time frame, because those were some of the challenges we were originally we're trying to overcome. It's been many years since we initiated Project Flywheel, and we've actually ramped the capacity on both sides. So what you're going to see is that continuing forward, where both Broadcom and Dell has resources to perform those upgrades. We've been ramping up the Dell support team to add additional capacity, who's been working side by side on all of the calls, been being trained by Broadcom. So we'll be able to perform those upgrades through both companies. And so that's a tremendous shift from where we came from, right? So we've done a lot of work to make sure that upgrade experience is successful and done as quickly as possible to meet our customers' timeframes.
Yeah. And that's, again, it's still incredibly important to us, to both parties, is VCF on VxRail. Obviously we know VCF is incredibly strategic to Broadcom at the moment. Like, they regrouped and have a VCF business unit, and again, we're the only ones that are fully integrated up through that SDDC stack and jointly engineered. So it's still a very, very important offering for us. One thing I did want to just come back to, by the way, where you were talking about those engineering interlocks and talking about all those meetings and how those have completely maintained. There's not been interruption to those. It does speak to how important that joint engineering is. I think there may be a perception in the market, where folks are saying they're not hearing a lot from us about what's happening. And I can only speak very minimally to this, but the marketing organizations and the partner organizations that we had normally worked with VMware are now being transferred into the Broadcom system. So we're not putting out as much as we had in the past, as we adjust, as we learn the new processes, as we do all that. So people might not be hearing from us as much, but this is really meant to assure you that that does not mean that we are not working together. That does not mean that the roadmap doesn't keep going. That doesn't mean any of that. It just means, again, two really big companies, one of them kind of, really, VMware and Broadcom are two really big companies that are coming together, and there's some adjustments on some of the outbound, messaging and marketing that you're going to hear. So I just wanted to point that out, that what you might hear externally doesn't mean that that's what's happening behind the scenes. And I know our competitors want to take advantage of it and put a lot of FUD out there. And I'm glad we, have this opportunity to chat with people about this.
And
Adam, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was going to say, I'll add to that by saying is as I stated at the very beginning, we recognize that while all this is going on, that we could do a better job. And so that's why we've been publishing the blogs. We've been having this session, which it's great to see the attendance, but also you're going to see that continue, right? And that's going to be, we're working on getting VMware, my peers at VMware on some of our DTW sessions, talking about VxRail and talking about some of our product portfolio. So just so you can continue to see how we demonstrate that partnership going forward, because sometimes you won't be able to see everything that's going on behind the scenes and all the work we're doing to make sure this is as seamless as transition as possible for you. But all that's happening, and we're just going to try to make it more visible where we can.
Great. Adam, you have any thoughts, any wrap-up advice to your
Yeah, totally. I was going to say, just highlighting there, right, that I know this is tough, right, for a lot of folks that are going through this, but do trust, right, that folks have their heads down. They're really working on this. I think that Nancy did a great job articulating that there's a lot of great people trying to make this better for all of us that are going through it. I know that's, for a lot of customers, we want things to get better, right? So it's on that path, but also just that's where I always feel like that's the power of a user group, right? I saw a lot of questions on costing and increases, and it's tough, right? Because I'm certain Dell doesn't have those answers, right? Because that's Broadcom's choice to set those things. But you can absolutely lean into your peers, right? Talk about what they've gone through, talk about their experience, talk about maybe they were thinking of pivoting away or doing something you were thinking of doing. Talk to them, right, about their experience, right? And that's the best part of being in a user group, is that hearing from customers and their journey and learning from their journey can help you in your business. So definitely lean into all user groups and your peers, right, to talk about what they've gone through and what they're seeing in the market and what they're looking at, right? Because that's technology as a whole, right? Whether that's Dell solutions or something else. Always be looking at what's out there, right? And what's best to enable your business. So that's kind of my job. I feel like, being as part of the user group, is to advocate for the customers. And I can tell you, being a part of our user group and having these great lines of communication with both VMware and Dell, and now Broadcom, is helping, right? We do appreciate the questions. I know sometimes it feels like I don't want to ask this, or I'm asking this in a different way. We do need to hear that, right? So that can go back to the people that can make those things better for you. So just keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for joining, being engaged, and asking those types of questions. It's really helpful to the user group and specifically to your peers.
Yeah, and again, I think as Ash had mentioned too, there's a lot of questions. We'll get more information out whenever we can, but please do consult with, your account managers, your sales reps. If you want roadmap information and any of that kind of stuff, they can get in touch with Ash and his team. And again, if people are just kind of like, what do I do? We have like these services workshops that just help you evaluate what's your current state, where do you want to get to, and where you want to get to might just be like, keep going with exactly what you're doing. But let's figure out how to get you there, licensing wise. And so, that just we're here to work with you and get through all this for, to drive the best outcome for the customer. That's our goal. So with that, Ann, I'm gonna hand it back over to you to wrap things up.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Nancy, Ash, and of course, Adam. We appreciate you all joining today and helping answer some of those questions coming in. And again, like Adam mentioned, having that line of communication is so valuable from the user group side. So we hope today's session was valuable for you. Jenny was sharing a link for a survey in the chat. Please share your feedback so we can help plan future programming. If you want to see more of this, let us know. We can have more conversations. That's what we're here for. And if there's anything else we can provide for you from the user group side, let us know too. We're always listening. So, and thank you to Dell and Intel. They are our sponsors for today's program. So we appreciate their continued support. And be on the lookout. We have a lot of upcoming events coming. On April 18th, we will have our next community hour, and that is on Apex Cloud Platform for Microsoft Azure. So we hope to see you there, and a lot of upcoming in-person events. We're going to be at Red Hat Summit in Denver in May, and also lots of activities coming up at Dell Technologies World, which feels right around the corner. So we hope to see you at another event soon. And as always, reach out if you have any questions. So thank you all and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.